2027 Social Security cost of living increases have been projected, and that projection has just got decreased. What does that mean for our economy? What does that mean for you? And are you actually gonna get more money to spend with that increase? That projection has been reduced down from a higher percentage down to 3.8%. That's good because that kind of leads us to believe that inflation is cooling off, but there's some other things that you just don't see very well unless you look in there deep. That cost of living increase could be the single thing that makes you have to pay more taxes in retirement, because your Social Security is not taxed unless you make too much other income. And they call that, the IRS calls that provisional income. So if you have too much provisional income, then you're gonna pay taxes on your Social Security. Your Social Security can be taxed up to 85%. Now, don't hear that wrong. We're not gonna tax it at 85%. If you have 10,000 of Social Security, we're only gonna use 8,500 of that to be calculated into your taxable income, all right? So, what is provisional income and why does it matter? Well, it matters because that number and how they calculate provisional income and the brackets at which your Social Security gets taxed has not changed in over 30 years. So we've been adjusting Social Security throughout the last 30 some years, but the limits at which your Social Security starts to get taxed have not adjusted for inflation. So let me break that down for you. Provisional income is made up of your AGI plus your tax-exempt interest plus, and here's the kicker, half of your Social Security benefits, okay? So if we add that number up, that's what your provisional income is. And if that number gets too high, then you're paying taxes on your Social Security. So if you're single and your provisional income equals less than $25,000, you don't have to pay taxes on your Social Security. If you're married, less than $32,000, you don't have to pay taxes on your Social Security. Now, from 25 to 34, if you're single, it gets taxed at 50%. And from 34,000 and above, it gets taxed at 85%. If you're married, numbers are a little different. 32 to 44 at 50%. 44 and above, they calculate 85% of your Social Security into your taxable income. So here's what I want you to think about. What is that provisional income calculation? AGI, tax-exempt interest, and half of your Social Security benefits. If those have been getting adjusted for inflation almost every year, but not every year, those Social Security benefits are going up, all right? The provisional income limits that I just listed have not risen in years. And so the cost of living increases could have just bumped you up into the next Social Security provisional income tax bracket is what I'm gonna call it. So just the simple fact that we're adjusting for inflation over our lifetime and those provisional income limits have not changed could mean that this simple cost of living increase that you're going to get in 2027 could cause you to actually pay more in taxes than you have before and basically take away that cost of living increase. And so how do we handle that, right? Well, first of all, I got a toolkit that talks about Social Security. And I'm gonna put that down there in the link below or in the description below. But there's a lot of other things inside of there that you can research as well. Social Security is just one of the topics inside of that toolkit. So check it out. But what I wanna think about is how can we offset some of that income so that we're not hitting those provisional income limits. If you're 65 or older for the next few years, from 2025 to 2028, you are getting an extra $6,000 senior deduction from your income for a few years here, but that's gonna phase out depending on your other income. So that could be a possible win for you to help reduce your income so you're not hitting those provisional income limits. Right? The other thing is maybe you're taking money from an IRA or a 401k. Is there a way or a better place to take money from to live off of so that that IRA or that 401k money is not taxable to you, pushing you up to those provisional income limits? All right, if you're taking a required minimum distribution and you don't really need that money, should you give those dollars away in the form of what we call a QCD? And that's one way to not have those required minimum distributions hitting your income taxes or your tax brackets, therefore not hitting those provisional income taxes. Now, I know this is kind of in the weeds. Happy to talk through it with you, but just understanding that that cost of living increase could potentially make your Social Security taxed at higher rates, therefore you having to pay more in taxes and kind of basically taking back that cost of living increase. So a few ways to deal with that. There's more than a few ways, but a few of the quick ones that I've already mentioned is we got an extra deduction for a few years, all right? Should we find a different place to pull money from, instead of an IRA, pull it from somewhere else? Or if we're giving dollars away, is there a better way to give those dollars away to keep our income lower? Lastly, if you haven't gotten to the ages of turning on Social Security yet, maybe that's where we should look at Roth conversions. And is there a way to get your income organized so that on your tax return, the income stays low and you may not hit those provisional income limits with Social Security. So that's where planning comes into place and looking further down the road. So it's great. We're going to get a cost of living increase on Social Security, but there are people out there where that cost of living increase is actually going to get taken away from them because they bumped into the next provisional income bracket and they got to pay more in taxes. If you want to talk through how we can plan for Social Security a little bit better, we're happy to do that. There's links down there in the description below, or of course, just grab the toolkit to learn more about Social Security.